What's that reprint? It's Botan!
A quick note here that we won't be talking about Spirit Gun or Voice of Reason in this video, as these cards have been shown to be getting functional reprints or homages to the card in this upcoming set. Yesterday we got the enhanced video for the next Yu Yu set from UniVersus, and in the video they were talking a little bit about the reprints that we can expect to see coming back. They even showed us a couple of cards. Well, thanks to the cards they did show us, we've put together a list predicting the rest of the reprints that will be returning to the game. Now the main thing to keep in mind is normally when looking at a collection of cards from UniVersus, they will order the collector's number going from characters into actions, then assets, attacks, and finally foundations. The only exception to this is when a character releases in a set, they'll normally have that character, then the same breakdown, and restarting again with the next character. This is why your end of set cards, the foundations, are always last. Yesterday we got confirmation that this is the formula they are following, since Randall's Spirit Gun has a lower collector's number than Sword Get Longer, when it was actually the opposite in the original set. It's also worth noting that originally they had mentioned that there'll be 6 straight to retro reprints, but in yesterday's video that seems that that number's been shifted to 4. So I've assumed that the other 2 have just been moved back to the main standard reprints. We're going to focus on the reprints coming to standard first, and then we'll talk about the ones that are staying in retro. So this is a graphic of the cards we know for definite are being reprinted, and their place in the collector's number. Using this information, we've either worked out exactly what's been reprinted, or getting close enough with a guess. So we'll just start off and go through this in numerical order, and I'll try to give reasons for each card that we think is getting reprinted in that slot. Luckily number 1's pretty straightforward. The only card that could possibly appear before Bayako is Botan. This is basically confirmed. There's not a shadow of doubt in my mind that Botan is coming back. I'm looking forward to this. I quite like Botan. I feel the character was pretty good until Pure of Heart was printed and then died a death. Yeah, I'm happy to see Botan back. Looking forward to seeing it in XR. Up next is a little bit harder. So in between Bayako and Dark Tournament looms, there is 7 possible cards. So we need to start whittling this down a little bit. I think the most logical choice first is to remove the characters that care about keywords that I don't expect to come back. So Suzaku and Kurama, I don't think it's Gage and Reversal's time. The next one to get cut is a character that I believe has been replaced by UVS games, since we've now got Mr. Compress and the ability to look at your momentum whenever you want anyway, so I don't imagine Hayes coming back. Leaves us with our final 4. And at this point, I don't imagine Kurama's task is coming back. As much as it makes sense once you've read it, it's also a little bit convoluted on first reading. Not to mention the downtime of actually resolving the form ability on it. So I can't imagine Koyama's task is coming back, and since Yusuke and Kuwabara will be prominent in the set already, I don't know if there's a chance that those characters will come back. In fact, I'm not even 100% sure, but I know Kuwabara was banned in his standard. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you if he's still banned in retro. Maybe I'll have a quick search for that actually and get some confirmation. Okay, he's legal in retro, but he was banned in his standard. And Yusuke was a bit of a powerhouse and a Tim Keith favourite. My bias is shown here, right, but I believe it's Randall. I think Randall's the logical choice out of those 4, and I'll be so happy if Randall comes back. But we'll try and keep the bias to one side. Up next, between the Dark Tournament looms and 16 instant slashes, there is only 3 cards that could appear in that slot. So without a doubt, one of the reprints is definitely going to be one of these 3 assets. The question then just becomes which. We spent a long time debating which of these could come back. While all 3 of these were originally printed at Ultra Rare, I believe whichever one comes back in the slot is going to be downshifted to Rare. I think the Ultra Rares are going to be saved for those retro framed retro reprints. The incredibly fancy Toguro Bros and Spirit Shotgun that we've seen. So then the question becomes which of these could be downshifted? Which for me would take Maze Castle out of the running. The fact that Twisty Surroundings exists makes me think Maze Castle isn't coming back, at least not yet. And when I vocalised this point, Emma pointed out that Psychic Spirit Glass is just like Labrava, except Labrava has additional cost to it. So we settled on Spiritual Shooting Ring. While I know it's got some interesting synergy with Monoma, I think this would help the ranged package, since we're just about to lose a lot of powerful ranged cards from my hero set 1. Up next we have our first large group of cards. So we're looking for attacks that's names are later in the alphabet than 16 instant slashes, but earlier in the alphabet than Mop Strike, and we need to pick 4 attacks from this grouping. Which is a bit unfortunate because we have 14 to choose from. So similar to the characters, we took out the keywords we don't expect to return yet, which leaves us with only 8 cards to pick from. At this point we had a discussion about the power levels of Ice Dragon and Boulder Barrage, and sadly I don't feel as though they make the cut as well. So with only 6 to choose from, and 4 slots available, we started to work out the cards we were least excited for. Hatefish quite obviously took number 1 on the least excitement list, but eventually Jagan Binding also got cut, leaving us with Backstrike, Beast Summoning, Massive Blow and Life Force Thread. To give us a break from doing a massive grouping again, we have a single card that's situated between Mop Strike and Rando's Spirit Gun, and luckily enough this should only be one of 2 cards, Ore Strike or Precise Blow. Now given that we don't expect reversals to come back yet, and even though Precise Blow would be in my top picks for reversal 2 reprint from the set, I think this slot easily goes to Ore Strike. So with 3 slots up for grabs between Rando's Spirit Gun and Sword Get Longer, we have 9 cards to pick between. As you expect, the first thing we're going to do here is cut the reversal engage, which brings us down to 6. I don't feel as though multiple as a keyword appears in Yu Yu Hakusho enough to justify bringing it back on 1 card, so Rapid Strikes is going to get cut here, and I don't imagine Spirit Sword Thrust will share the same meta as Maximum Overhaul. We've got 4 cards, we've only got 3 spaces, so 1 to cut. So at this point Emma and I agreed that Rapid Speed Slash, Spirit Slash and Spirit Charge Kick are the 3 likely candidates for being reprinted here. There's a lot of reasons for the Spirit attacks, and Rapid Speed Slash seems a lot more balanced than Reduction. So we decided to go with Reduction, Spirit Slash and Spirit Charge Kick, because at this point I'm starting to live a bit of a fever dream that Rando's coming back to standard. Up next we have the largest gap in the cards that we know about, with a whopping 12 spaces available and 22 possible cards to take those spaces. So let's thin the herd the easiest way possible and remove keywords. Congrats, we've went from 22 to 20, so we still need to make 8 cuts out of this pile. Now even though it doesn't directly mention reversal, a Sun's Love's ability to take away safe is only really applicable if you're reversing that attack. Also, High Spirit Awareness's ability to cancel a Deadlock ability probably isn't as relevant in a meta where Deadlock isn't as big a threat as it used to be. Thinking about the meta in general, I don't imagine Endless Determination is coming back and giving Earth Overhaul an additional tool to play with. It'd be pretty disgusting to allow Overhaul to build a momentum face down and then just be able to play that momentum, whether they needed to recycle an attack or pick up that block. Since we're talking about Overhaul, I don't imagine Dragon Forms are going to reappear either, since being able to look at your opponent's face downs will just add a lot of extra time to the game. And lastly we have Crimson Spiral getting cut here, which the card pool ability is nice, but we don't really have a situation where I can see this instantly slotting in, and it feels a bit out of place. So this brought us down to 15 cards, and at this point Emma and I were really struggling, and then the idea hit us. We had agreed on 11 cards we could see returning, and we put the final 4 into an image, and asked for locals which card do they think is getting reprinted. While there's justification for any of these 4 cards being reprinted, we just felt the other 11 that we'd chosen over them suited the game a little bit better at this point in time. Our locals ended up landing on Human Hunter as their pick, so these are the final 12. So we have Tiger Claws since we know Byaku's already been reprinted, and Tiger Scream would give us a chance to have an updated text box with the Byaku only E. I Have a Sword is a great replacement for Hardened Jab. Human Hunter was chosen by our locals. Aerial Recon will help support the concept of a discard deck. Energy will help 5-handers go a little bit further in the meta. Protecting Unica is a great Omni block on all 3 of its symbols. Partners in Crime's ability is relatively fair without being overly complex. Hiding in Plain Sight is some snap momentum generation at the cost of a foundation. While Friends and Rivals was kind of oppressive with reversals, since reversals aren't coming back just yet, I don't imagine we can't have Friends and Rivals back. Keiko's Aid's a nice simple card that will see play. and massive size just helps the Byakko situation. So we're down to 4 cards to go for our standard reprints, and in those final 4 slots we have another 9 cards to choose from. So once more, we'll cut the Reversal Engage. I know Claco's a big Hiei fan, but for me the card that sticks out like a sore thumb is the 3 Eyes of Hiei. Out of these 6 cards, it's the one that I'd be the least excited to see reprinted, which brings us down to 5. And this is probably the hardest choices we've had to make. And after a lot of discussion on these cards and a lot of debate, Thunderous Roar, the Pilot of the River Styx, Second Saintly Beast and Toughest Punk should be our picks. They are probably the most logical cards to come back. True Identity was really good. Who knew? +1 to all your checks for attacks was pretty good. So we decided to go with, yet again I'm living this fever dream that I'm going to get to play Randall. Maybe we'll actually see me try to enter some events. For all argument's sake, True Identity here should probably be Thunderous Roar. That is our predicted 35 reprints that are coming back to standard. Let us know what you think about them in the comments and stuff. And I don't know why I'm talking as though I'm wrapping up because we still have the URs to cover. Yep, let's do straight to retro reprints. Toguro Bros and Spirit Shotgun confirmed to be in these retro slots. So it started making me think about what other cards might be there. What other cards are on these cards' power level? And honestly, I don't think there's any that are on their power level. Like, they're the standouts from the set, right? So we decided to look at the other ultra rares from Yu Yu Hakusho that haven't made it into our list yet. And same again, we're removing keywords that I don't think are coming back. So that's Rose Whiplash and Prism Storm out, along with Rapid Strikes, as I don't feel they're reprinting one multiple card. While I understand that this is the retro reprint slot, and there's no reason why they couldn't have these keywords, I just think you're putting a situation where confusion could be caused in draft by including them, especially if they want draft to be a competitive format. Could you imagine being the one guy that opens a Rose Whiplash in draft? Like the one cheeky reversal and you can't even combo it? It'd feel so bad. Since we know Toguro Bros is the lowest numbered retro reprint, it means Koema's Task doesn't make the cut. And while talking about that, I don't think Psychic Spirit Glass is strong enough to be justified as a retro reprint. The only 2 cards that could appear after Spirit Shotgun is Spirit Sword Thrust or Tiger Scream. And we already believe that Tiger Scream is getting reprinted back to standard, which leaves Spirit Sword Thrust taking the 4th slot in the retro reprints. So it's really a discussion about the other 3 cards on the screen. Due to these straight to retro reprints we've seen already, I don't believe we'll get a card with a scenic picture on it the way that you'd expect for a terrain like Maze Castle. They all so far seem to be very character focused. This leads me to the decision that Maze Castle won't make the cut, and also Boulder Barrage is just a big boulder. Like, it's floating boulders. I don't even remember it from Yu Yu, but there isn't a character that's definable in that artwork. I feel as though Ice Dragon Shiryu will be taking the last slot in these reprints. Well, I hope you have enjoyed coming along this journey with us. It was a good exercise. It was really fun to sit and try and work out which of the cards could come back. We might do an update video once we know all the retro reprints, where we just go through and we talk about what we got right and what we think about the retro reprints. That's it for us. Bye.